Welcome back. You're watching The Full View on the SABC News channel. So after 39 countries approved to recruit for COVID-19 solidarity trials, nearly 5,500 patients were recruited in 21 countries as of July the 1st this year. The trials to help find an effective treatment for the virus were launched by the World Health Organization and its partners. So in South Africa, 15 hospitals nationwide have been identified to take part. Dr. Jeremy Nell from South Africa's WHO Solidarity Trial joins me now via Skype. A very good evening to you, Dr. Nell, and thanks indeed for your time. So let's just get this one straight. So this trial is different. The Solidarity Trial is a treatment trial aimed at treating already established infections. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it's as opposed to the vaccine trials, which are aimed to prevent infections. This is aiming to find the best treatments for those people who do have COVID-19.
So I would take it that all those participating in it are then COVID positive. So how far has the recruitment in South Africa gone thus far?
So we've managed to start this week, and that's a little bit longer than we'd wanted in terms of delays, but it proved to be a very enormous logistics project to get all 15 sites off the ground. And then as well, we've had a few delays because the Solidarity Trial itself has changed as time's gone on, and they've dropped certain arms as evidence has come in. But we're really happy to have been able to start now recruiting, and we've started so far in Johannesburg, and we're hoping to branch out to other parts next week, which will be really good to get off the ground.
All right, so I understand, is there just one hospital at the moment that has been identified for this currently of the 15?
One hospital has started recruiting because we got the final permission to start only this week. So one hospital started, but we expect to expand that pretty quickly from next week, yeah.
All right. So what medicines will be used, as all of this gets underway?
Sure. So there are, at the moment in the Solidarity Trial, although it has changed from the beginning, at the moment there's two medications that we're busy testing. One is called remdesivir. It's an antiviral medicine that we know does have some activity against the virus and has shortened hospital stay definitively, when it's been used overseas. And we're hoping that it'll do more than that here and hopefully be proven to save lives as well. And then the other drug is a drug called interferon beta. It's an immune modulatory drug, so it changes the body's ability to fight the virus. And that's also shown promise in a lot of other studies. And we're hoping that this will show something definitive here in Solidarity too.
Yeah. Is this the only treatment trial currently underway in South Africa?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. I think it's the only one, that's enrolling patients at the moment in South Africa.
All right. So in terms of the scope of participants, how many participants would be ideal to get this trial underway?
So the trial obviously has been going on internationally for a while, so we're a part of it, but we're not, as you mentioned, there's about 40 other countries which are also enrolling people. Globally at the moment, the trial is enrolling about 500 people a week, but you can see if you divide that by 40 countries, each country probably enrolls an average of about 10 to 15 patients a week, although obviously there's quite a lot of variability. Some countries, COVID has died down and they're struggling to recruit. In other countries like here, COVID is still very much with us. So we're hoping that while the numbers are high here, we can contribute substantially to that number.
And if you look at the time frame in terms of if you start recruiting, we know you're hoping to have, some kind of result. Of course, that will be dependent on how fast you're able to recruit participants for the treatment trial. But when are you hoping to have, some kind of result, whether it be a positive or negative?
Sure. So, we've of the 4 drugs Solidarity started off with, we already have results from the international study, both in Solidarity and another UK-based study, which is very similar for 2 of those drugs. And what happens is this is what's known as an adaptive trial, so that the trial continues with each individual drug as long as we don't have a definitive answer one way or the other. So if we know it does work, or if we know it doesn't work, then that arm gets dropped. And because then we don't need to study that drug anymore, and then it's available to others then to use. But so in other words, the trial itself won't come to a definitive conclusion, straight away. But individual drugs may, as time goes on. It's very hard to predict exactly the time because it depends how big the effect is. The bigger the effect, the shorter time it takes to prove it. And also it depends on the number of people who are enrolled. And that's a global number, obviously. So the more people who are enrolled globally, the quicker we get a result.
So while this is a treatment trial and obviously the participants would be COVID-19 positive, I'd like to get your comments on what already is in the public domain. Social media networks, for example, having to pull a video by the group America's Frontline Doctors who were promoting hydrochloroquine both as a preventative measure and as a cure for COVID-19. How much more difficult does this make your work with so many conflicting messages within the different spaces, I guess, around the world?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a great question. I mean, I think that the amount of anxiety around COVID-19 really does foster a lot of misinformation. I mean, the case of this particular example, that doctor, I have seen that clip, and was promoting a drug called hydroxychloroquine, which has been made into a bit of a political issue in America because Donald Trump had promoted it. In fact, that's one of the drugs that we've dropped from Solidarity because the evidence is pretty definitive that it does not work. And it's not just from Solidarity, it's most impressively from that other UK trial called Recovery Trial. And really, these are two massive trials of many thousands of people and showed pretty much definitively that this is really a drug that does not work. And it was a drug that had promise initially, which is why we were testing it. But I mean, I think in that particular example, we could be pretty definitive and say that this is not a drug that we'd advise being used.
Yeah. Dr. Jeremy Nell, thank you very much indeed for your time here on the SABC News channel. Dr. Jeremy Nell from South Africa's WHO Solidarity Trial. Of course, those are getting underway in South Africa. Thanks indeed for your time. So the protracted ban on